I had my own lots of family stories around like jinn and I think like a pivotal moment though that happened like when I was 15 years old. Something really, really terrifying happened. To this day, I don't know what it was, and I'm only gonna find out like on Judgment Day. So it's like there was a point where I was basically put in a psychiatric hospital because I was like hearing things and seeing things. And I can't remember. I have a lot of pockets of gaps in my memory. But I remember never being that frightened ever. It was so, so scary. And I could see things that were not there. I could hear things that were not there. I refused to eat. And my poor parents were terrified. And I was in Sydney at the time. So when you're in Sydney, and if you are a young teenage girl who has potentially gotten possessed by a jinn, you're not going to be sent to like the imam. You get sent to the psych ward, which is exactly what happened. And it was really frightening because that's where I saw a lot of jinn, like 100%, because that's where sadly a lot of people congregate, a lot of the unseen, because it's such a troubled place. And my ward was right next to a gigantic tree. So guess who hanging out next to me? It was just horrifying. Alhamdulillah, my parents got me out. And subhanAllah, the only way I got better actually was when my parents tricked me on an aeroplane to go back to Singapore so they could like set up a meeting with a traditional healer, whom I think in hindsight was probably not an imam because I think in Malay the word is like dukun or bomo. So he's someone who has knowledge about black magic because my parents had tried everything else. They'd taken me to the imams in Sydney, the shuyukh, like the diaspora imams who were not quite sure what to do. So they had to fly me back to the homeland. And then so subhanAllah, so that actually worked. But that was also really frightening because I'm like, I can't explain any of this logically. And then when the nurses from the psych ward found out that my dad had flown back to Singapore, they were really worried. They told my mom, is she okay? Because she's really not well. She needs to stay on her medication. And when I came back, miraculously cured, like even my psychiatrist was like, this is a miracle. you know? And I'm like, alhamdulillah, okay, I need to go back to studying because I need to get back I need to make it to med school and prove my worth because I'm the eldest Asian daughter, despite this traumatic experience. And ever since then, it felt like this window to the unseen realm had opened and I didn't know how to shut it. And I was constantly creeped out by sounds, but like nobody else could sense that except for me. And subhanAllah, it was a really difficult time for a long, long time. But that, ironically, or maybe not ironically, is the qadr of Allah, drew me to tasawwuf, drew me to dhikr, drew me to, you know, it really compelled me to like find out, how does Islam protect me from this? Because clearly I have been haunted and there's a possibility that this may have come from my family line. But nobody wants to talk about it. It's like this combination of like, okay, we can't speak ill of the dead, correct? But if someone, somewhere back then did something and it's being passed down, it's impacting on me now. And that is really frightening. And what does that mean for my descendants, right? Because I have children, subhanAllah. So I still remember that bomo slash dukun slash person saying to my dad that whoever your daughter marries needs to be like really special, you know. And alhamdulillah, now that I have my husband, I get it now. Because when we were in the courtship phase, I was basically telling him straight up, look, this has happened in my past, da, 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 da. And he, mashallah, the best green light. He was like, oh yeah, I had a friend back in boarding school in Malaysia who went through something similar and he's fine now. So it's okay. And that was so nice for me to hear because again, he wasn't this conflicted diaspora kid who grew up with all these identity crises. He was born in Malaysia. I think he was like fifth or fourth generation Indian Muslim. His parents and ancestors are from Kerala, strongly Shafi'i, which is great because, Malaysia is also in Singapore, very Shafi'i. Alhamdulillah, he was grounded. He only studied abroad in Sydney to do his master's. So that grounding effect was really healing for me because that's what I take energy from, like your spouse who you spend like so much time with. So yeah, subhanAllah. It's taken many, many years for me to even speak about it. And hence writing that book, my book, has been, again, like a kind of wish fulfillment. A much happier ending to what had happened you know? Yeah, so there you have it. Yeah.